So today we will discuss about the topic challenges of human resource management. That in the case of an organization, the HR manager faces some certain challenges. This may be from financial challenges. This may be because of management challenges. And because of this, they have to take certain measures in order to cope up with these financial challenges or management challenges. They have to cope up with some measures. Now we will discuss two measures that they can take in terms of facing challenges during human resource management. Okay, the first point that is taken as a measure by the HR managers is known as downsizing. So from the word downsizing, we can understand that down and sizing, that means reducing the size. Now, what do you mean? What reducing? What to reduce now in an organization? It is all about reducing the size of the employees. It is all about reducing the number of employees that you have. Now, when we are talking about downsizing, the meaning of downsizing we have to understand first. So, the meaning of downsizing is to reduce the number of manpower or eliminate human resources permanently from the organization. Now, why the organization has to take such drastic measures to reduce the manpower at a certain point of time or eliminate human resources totally from the organization? There may be various reasons. There may be various reasons for downsizing that we will discuss later. First, we will understand that what is downsizing. That what happens in an organization that because of certain reasons, it may be economic reason, it may be political reason, legal reasons, okay, it may be financial reasons, and because of these reasons, the HR manager, in order to reduce the burden of cost on giving salaries to more number of employees, they start to reduce the number of manpowers in the organization. This is known as downsizing. We can take a lot of examples. Like one example we can take of Jet Airways, Air India also, that a few years back when there was a burden, financial burden on Air India and Jet Airways, they at a certain point of time they eliminated 10,000 employees from their organization. So 10,000 employees have to lose their job in Jet Airways and Air India. Now this is called downsizing. So what Jet Airways and Air India did is that in order to reduce the cost that is incurred on paying salaries to the employees, they reduced the number of manpower and eliminated them in order to make the organization stable or in order to make the organization run. When the organization finds out that their operating costs are very high and now they are finding ways to reduce the operating cost while running the organization, while running the business. Now they cannot stop the business. They cannot stop the business, but they can do one thing, that they can reduce the operations and they can reduce the manpower, right? So if there were 100 employees and your profitability has gone down, then what you do? The operating cost, and if operating costs are also high, then you try to reduce the number of manpower you have, and in that way the business saves money from the salaries, okay, and that money that is saved by eliminating those human resources, those manpower can be invested into some other operating cost. This is known as downsizing. So this is a very frequent measure that is taken by businesses in order to reduce the burden of money on them. Okay. Now, the next point that we will discuss is VRS, Voluntary Retirement Scheme. So this is little different from downsizing. So in downsizing, what happens that the organization eliminates the human resources intentionally, right? Forcefully, they eliminate the human resources, the manpower from the organization. That is downsizing. But now what is VRS? VRS, the word VRS comes, there is a word called voluntary. Okay. So VRS is what? It is also a technique of managing the burden of money on you, on the organization, on the business. So when the organization feels that they are having high operating cost and they are not able to make up the cost through their limited profit, what they do is that they ask the employees, or they have a you can say coordination with the employees, and they tell the employees to take VRS. They tell the employees to take voluntary retirement from the organization, and from that, from after that retirement, they will give some of the money to the employees, because the employees are taking voluntary retirement from the organization or from the business. This is known as the most humane technique to provide overall reduction in the strength of the employees. Now the organization, suppose it is financially weak, it has become financially weak. One example we can take is of BSNL now. BSNL is a public sector undertaking, but from the last 10 years, you can say that the profitability level of BSNL has gone down, drastically down. Now the BSNL has nothing to do, has no other option to force the employees to take VRS. Now they are forcing the employees who have crossed 55 years to take compulsorily VRS, and they will pay a sum of money because of the employees taking voluntary retirement. Now, see, here the employees can do downsizing as well, but they are not doing downsizing. And in place of downsizing, what they are doing is that they are asking the employees to take VRS. And VRS is, that's why it is known as most human technique to reduce the number of manpower. Okay, so it is the reason for down the VRS, and reason for downsizing is almost same. But VRS sometimes can be taken from by the employee for their personal interest as well. But if we talk about management perspective, the organization's perspective, the employer's perspective, the employers can also ask the employees to take VRS from the organization in order to reduce the burden of salaries on the organization. Okay, so this is another technique that is taken by human resource management department in order to trim the workforce, in order to reduce the workforce, so that there is less burden on paying salaries. See, this third point is very important, that VRS is based on mutual agreement. Okay, it is not forcefully given to an employee. If we think from the perspective of employers, it is not an agreement which is forcefully put on to an employee. It is on the basis of a mutual agreement, and the employee agrees to the employers, saying that yes, I will take the VRS, and because the employee is taking VRS, the employer will pay him some amount of compensation. Why paying compensation? Because the employee still has some years to complete till his actual retirement. Okay, so the employer and the employee has a mutual agreement, and the employer asks the employee to take VRS, and in exchange, the employer will give a certain amount of compensation. Okay. The next point, you can see that VRS is known as golden handshake. Why? Because both the employer and employee happily bid final goodbyes. Now, why they are happy? Because the employer wants to reduce the burden of salary by reducing the number of employees, and the employee also is also getting certain amount of compensation because he's taking TRS. So in this process, both the employees are happy because they are giving a golden handshake in the form of VRS. Okay, so VRS, why VRS was introduced? See, when the organization do downsizing, when the organization do retrenchment, retrenchment is nothing but uh, permanently putting the employee job to an end in an organization. So VRS was introduced as an alternative to this kind of behavior, like retrenchment and downsizing. Okay, so VRS is different from downsizing, as we discussed, because here employees are asked to retire voluntarily, because the employer wants to one such, and they are not laid off forcefully from the organization. This is all about downsizing